Inside LAFC, this is episode 9 as we are moving right along through the season. Max Bredos, Vince LaRosa here. Thrilled to be joining you each and every week. Feels like we're getting these out a lot more frequently, which is the case because I don't want to take the Tom Penn podcast off the latest and greatest. So if you haven't heard that, make sure you tune into that one as well. Really cool inside intel and from the heart with our beloved president here at LAFC. But a reminder just to subscribe to the podcast, spread the word so we can continue to serve you the best we can. In order to do that, leave comments as well as reviews. Hopefully of the 5-star, no worse than the 4-star. Imagine we're like a decent Uber ride. You know, you give it 5 stars. Right, Vince?
I would not allow you to drive me anywhere.
We won't be too talkative. Well, we will, but not as the Uber driver. But, okay, but all good times.
There's nothing worse than a talkative Uber.
Sometimes it's in their description. It goes, he likes to create good conversation. I go, I want to skip this one.
Yeah, I think because you set up the show so nicely, we can already take our first detour. Why is that in there? I don't want to talk to my Uber driver.
No.
I actually will comment 5 stars and say, yeah, they didn't say a word.
Yeah. I got a 5-star guy, and then, that the extra thing, this guy's getting great reviews. I was like, oh, and he was very, very good. Short ride. I live in Redondo Beach, so from the airport to Redondo Beach, so it's 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. But I enjoyed those 15 minutes. I've had to go further from the airport. But there we go. How many detours do we usually have in a show? 2. 4.
2 more. But let's see, we were just talking with some of the performance staff about touches that Edouard Atuesta has in the game. Do you think we have more or less detours than Edouard has
less touches than Edouard?
Only by maybe 1 or 2.
No chance. All right, so again, we're joining you from the LAFC Performance Center. The team is training as we speak, and good spirits once again after the Wednesday setback where they lost at Vancouver. And I know we talked about it a lot. Certainly, there were reasons for that, and those seem even more verified now because of what happened on Sunday, 4 o'clock local kick. And to me, it was just breathtaking to see it. And we've heard from Bob Bradley and the coaching staff about what they are trying to do here, and that looked as close to what prime performance is. There's always room for improvement, and Bob Bradley said so, and he said there's certain guys that have to hit their marks a little bit more, but when you're seeing there and it's 4-1 after 60-some minutes, and I said to myself, I go, they could get 5, they could get 6. They almost did, even more than that. This was, to me, the best performance I'd seen from LAFC ever.
Yeah, last 20 minutes or so, I think they took their foot off the pedal a little bit. Why
they
not?
Did.
You had a midweek game, so why not chill out? But I like that you said they talked about what we're trying to do here, because so much, maybe rightfully so, but I don't think so, it was made of the rotations. And I think that Vancouver game wasn't so much about the rotations, about what Vancouver forced LAFC to try to do and how they got them out of their game. And then we go to Seattle, we play Seattle, and it's right back to what we expect from LAFC, the type of movements that we expect, the type of ideas. I mean, that, to me, like Bob said, there's always room to improve, but if you look at what the LAFC game plan is against a very good opponent, that was probably one of the most impressive performances of what they've done.
I'm going all the way in. I'm going number 1.
Number 1. It'd be hard to argue with you, honestly, because
that's why we're here. Let's argue.
Yeah, we are here to argue. We're here to argue. I mean, okay, so Seattle fans will say, no Chad Marshall, no Raul Ruiz Diaz, but I'll say to them, you had your full-strength midfield. Nico Ladero, absent.
No, he was.
Christian Roldan.
What happened to him? He was very frustrated.
Yeah, Christian Roldan and Svensson were so deep because of what our midfield was able to do. And if we play that way, that's how teams are going to look. They're going to have to really fight for it. And so that was, maybe the best. I really.
Carlos Vela was remarkable, but what that midfield was able to do and put him in the positions, obviously the goal certainly from Kay put on a platter. And Carlos Vela finishes a goal differently again, this time off the toes, the punta del pie made famous by Romario. So I just love it because it's like Catalan, because I could do it all. He has had 1 converted penalty this season. The rest is just finding more ways to wow the crowd and cement himself as the top player here in Major League Soccer with a long way to go. But they are putting numbers up that are astronomical. We said last week it was such an important win or important result because first place is huge in Major League Soccer. Now they have a 6-point lead over the Sounders. There are no more unbeaten teams. They now have 25 goals over 9 games. So you're getting close to 100 goals on this track if it continues. And that's a big if because they're scoring a lot of goals. But Christian Ramirez is another factor, I think, because the Vancouver game was not good for him, and they need him here. Certainly, as Dio is still not 100%. We saw Josh Perez get in there, and it was good. Not really his true position. So if Christian Ramirez could do that, and then all of a sudden he has this performance where he's involved in all the machinations, and he scores a goal. It was just a great achievement across the board. You have to be happy about all the spots you were able to hit.
Yeah, it was a team performance. Where do you want to go first? You want to talk about Carlos or you want to talk about Christian? Because I think Christian does deserve a lot of credit for
Let's start Christian, because look, whatever you do with the team, and we've seen it even going back to Marco Ureña last season, you could be the center part of that front three, not score goals, and make yourself useful, and he did with some assists. But at the end, you need those goals. As a striker, he has to be. They can be winning 4-0 if he doesn't score. You need a goal, and to get a goal and to get it off such a beautiful setup, and for him to be involved, it was the third goal.
Yes.
Second, that is a breakthrough performance. And now, let's be honest. There's moments where I go, is Christian Ramirez get the 90 minutes here? Does he get the start here because the performance hadn't been up to snuff? And now I think that's just for a player mentally and physically, it's got to be liberating for him. So that's a huge development. I think maybe right at the top of the list of what happened on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I think we so often want to throw players out and say, he's not good enough. But when you see a player that really takes what the coaching staff is trying to do with him, really takes it hard. I mean, Christian's game was almost a full 180 from that Vancouver game where he was just trying to get in behind, maybe get a tap in, which, again, he's great at. And don't get me wrong, the tap-ins that he creates are not easy. It's not like he just happens to be in the right place at the right time. He has great movement in the box, but that's not what he's asked to do here. And so for him to flip it around against a good team in Seattle and say, I'm gonna come off the shoulder of the defender. I'm gonna work in the build. I would say he had a lot to do with even the first goal. Because if you really watch that first goal, just look at the space between Roman Torres and Kim Ki-hee. And Kim Ki-hee is looking at Carlos. He's thinking, okay, he's in between me and Brad Smith. How close do I have to get to him? But yet Diego's kind of taking up a position slightly through the middle, and there's 20 yards between them. So he's having to really consider that. And that's Christian. That's Christian's movement. That's Christian's ability to realize I need to be here in certain spaces. I need to be there in other spaces. So, yeah, his game was phenomenal. I think even without the goal, his game would have been phenomenal. But I like that he was able to get a goal, such a pretty goal, too.
Yeah, it was. And at the post-game presser, Bob Bradley, as he tends to do, and it's great for all of us because it creates a picture of what he wants. And there was a comparison with Christian Ramirez and Bobby Firmino.
Yep.
And he pointed out what Firmino does for Liverpool. And again, he is, when it comes to scoring goals, he is third behind the guys around him as a striker, so to speak, Sadio Mane and Mo Salah. But getting detached and opening space for those two guys, and then you can visualize it, how it applies to LAFC, because they have, instead of Salah and Mane, they have Vela and Rossi, which is a pretty good duo, whether you're in Liverpool, whether you're LAFC. And I think that gives something for Christian Ramirez. I imagine he's probably mentioned that to him as well about looking at Firmino and what he's able to do and getting away from the pressure, the central defensive group. Don't just stay there like a traditional forward. If the ball's in the midfield, you're out of the play. No, you're an active participant. That is huge in the way this team builds up its play, and that's what they want for forward. And he didn't clog it up. It wasn't like he's coming to the midfield and all of a sudden, hey, there's too many players there. It looked very seamless, and the ball just bounced around beautifully.
Yeah, you still have to pick your moments. And if you have wide forwards like LAFC does that score so many, you can afford to have a striker that maybe scores just a tick or two less. And I think it plays into what I wanted to talk about with Carlos, too. So you look at Carlos, and he's so talented on the ball, can do so many things. But realistically, if you want to get the most out of Carlos Vela, you want him either having the last touch of the ball, which is scoring it, or you want him making that second to last. You want him making the pass to really break the game up. So if you have Christian allowing Carlos to do exactly what he did in that Seattle game, people would say, well, we didn't see Carlos on the ball a lot. That's fine. It's totally fine. He can still get 2 goals. He can still influence the game. So by doing that and working with Diego and then picking up different spots around the pitch, you can allow Carlos to get moving and to get into areas to where his first touch is 30 yards and in. If all of Carlos's touches are 30 yards and in, teams are going to be buried. And that's what we saw.
Yeah. Let's talk about Carlos Vela now. 10 goals on the season, which projecting, because it's fun, doesn't mean it's going to happen. He's going to be close to 40. It should be a new record. Slam dunk. The way he's playing, you would imagine he is going to be with Mexico at the Gold Cup But there was discussions leading into it that, maybe there are options that Tata Martino prefers. So maybe he's here, although LAFC doesn't have a game for June 1st, June 28th. Mexico's participation in the Gold Cup will take them into second week of July, I believe.
Yes.
So they'll miss a couple games, but regardless, there's a possibility he's here for the duration. But I don't know. It's just after also struggling against Vancouver, not being ubiquitous as he normally is, he was in on everything as well. And again, wowing. And the thing with everything LAFC did, I follow the game. I have my computer out. I was off the clock. It was a national broadcast. So you see what people – I have the computer out even when I am broadcasting just in case. At least at halftime I'll catch up. Yeah. But what's being said about the team and Carlos Vela is it just snowballs into something bigger and better where people are now like, wow, they're dealing with hyperbole and hubris, saying this is something we rarely see.
Yeah, because he's so involved in everything that they do. I mean – You can go down the freeway and you look at Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who has, I think, 4 of his goals are penalties.
Yes.
Carlos is doing so much from open play. He's assisting teammates. He has 10 goals, 5 assists.
Quintero's also out there in goals, and I think he has 4 penalties.
Mm-hmm. But doesn't it feel like, even though he has 10 goals, that so many other players around him have so many goals? And they do. I mean, Diego now has 6. And I think that's the key delineation, is what Carlos does for his team in other moments. And that's why I'm saying, again, you want him either having the last touch or the second to last touch. And he can provide both. And I think he also has that ability to bounce back from a bad game, which is maybe last season there was times where he went quiet for longer stretches. And I would say with the World Cup, the fact that he came from Sociedad, I mean, he really played. Yeah. He packed 2 seasons into one as much as he could. But this year he's decided, well, if I have a bad game, I'm going to bounce back, and the team's going to bounce back together. We're all going to do it together. He just seems even more bought in. And I'm not saying he wasn't bought in last season, but he seems to be. And he's told us maybe it's a continuity. Maybe just knowing where guys are, being that little bit closer to your teammates, both on and off the pitch. He's such a joy to watch. But we get the pleasure of seeing him kind of with his teammates afterwards, and knowing that. What you see in the match is just maybe a small percentage of it, because he really does put so much more into it. And he's a fun guy to be around.
He blends in here incredibly. We just saw the guys come out for practice, and you don't see, like this grand entrance. He's out there mid-conversation with one of his teammates in the warm-ups. It's just another guy. It's not like you've seen in many past. Maybe I haven't seen it. I'm just kind of assuming it's the case where you have like that big star. I did see it with Beckham, and there was times where there was like a big entrance, and this is seamless for him. And I think with the goals, LAFC are going to pick up penalties. They are going to pick up penalties. They're going to get free kicks near the 18, and he's going to take them. So when the ball is stopped, we've not even seen the tip of the iceberg. We've seen nothing, and that is going to come. They're going to continue to apply pressure and get those chances. So this number has a chance to get up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and he was great in the post-game press conference. He was actually really funny. I think
very complimentary to a lot of the teammates.
Very complimentary. Too. One of the things that Bob said in his post-game, because somebody asked him a question just like, do you think Carlos is engaged, or some question, we always seem to get this every week, and he said, man, if you go in the locker room right now, there's no one happier than Carlos Vela, and he's happy for his teammates, happy for himself, he's happy for everyone. Then he comes into our press conference, and I think one of the best moments was somebody asked a question and said, it was Christian and Carlos sitting together. Somebody asked a question and said, Christian and Carlos, you can both answer it. Christian goes to answer, and he goes and answers it very thoroughly.
Yeah.
And when he finishes, there's just this kind of beat. He looks over at Carlos. Carlos just goes, what he said.
What he said. Yeah.
He was
nailed
great.
It. He said exactly what I meant.
He was happy. He was just kind of holding court. And it's fun. Like, those are the little moments that maybe people don't focus on, because there's so many narratives that are already out there about Carlos. But these are the things that are, this is how he's different. And this is how maybe when he comes to a league like MLS, you can start to see that, because we're a little more transparent, right? When you're in Europe, you can kind of hide in the locker room. You don't have to be that guy. I think it takes a lot to get Carlos to be that guy, but when he's in the moment and he's having fun, he's a fun guy. He's a legitimately fun guy to be around. That's what I tell people. They go, tell me about Carlos Vela. I go, he's legit funny. Legitimately a funny guy.
He's made me laugh out loud twice. I haven't had those moments this season. Last season, 2 out loud moments, which I'm not going to share. It's a personal moment we had, me and Carlitos.
They're like, they are. What's funny is they're like the curva. They're like those shots, because he snipes you.
Yeah.
You'll say something and he'll just randomly throw a side comment and you'll go, oh, that was so good. And
Curva, I like it.
Yeah.
That's a good way.
I believe
you're Italian.
Yes, I believe Alex Dwyer
La curva.
from MLSsoccer.com, who's our good friend. I stole that from him, so I can't say.
Well, I'm trying to label all his goals so when it happens, we can identify and have some fun on our broadcast. But they do it themselves. We talked about a lot of players coming up shortly on Inside LAFC. We're going to have a discussion. We want you to get involved too. Who is the second best player for LAFC? So we put Carlos Vela first. There was a moment there where Diego Rossi's pulling up to his bumper. Maybe it's Rossi. Maybe it's Mark Anthony Kaye, who was my player of the week in Major League Soccer with his 3 assists.
I voted on Twitter.
Else. Was that?
I voted on Twitter.
You
I
voted
saw
on
you
Twitter?
voted on Twitter. Did you
I
vote
did.
on Twitter?
I did.
You better have.
I did.
You and your Twitter. We've talked about this. What's with your Twitter, man? Get it going.
I don't know. I just haven't been as inspired on Twitter sometimes. I actually was going to tweet something, and I actually did tweet it, and I erased it because I saw this jar of pickles, Vlasic pickles, and I had that old pelican who used to smell Vlasic pickles. And I go, hey, where's the pelican gone? I go, just take that down. No one cares. The Vlasic pickle pelican. You know who he is. But we've covered most of the stuff of the game, right?
Yeah. I mean, the goals cover themselves.
They cover themselves. And we'll also, we'll talk about the second best player. That's going to be fun. I think you can get involved as well. But after the game, when you go to the field, this is one of the great LA scenes anywhere. I don't care if it's Coldplay at the Hollywood Bowl. I don't care if it's, Beyonce or one of the Kardashians on Sunset Boulevard. This is one of these big events. Right after the game, the fans, the players together, and then all the VIPs in and around, they're sticking around. Obviously, Will Ferrell, he's everywhere.
Ever present.
He's been more and more present. It just seems like he soaks it all in, and he wants every part of this, as we all do. Kevin Frazier's a season ticket holder. He's always there. And then popping around. I mean, the camera, it's like those old Laker games. You have actor,
That's what I was going to say.
musician.
It's getting on the level of those old Laker games where you have a few people that are the always theirs, the Jacks, always there. And then you have these just kind of this revolving door of Hollywood and celebrities and sports stars that just, you're like, hey, that guy was here. Like,
right.
Once the game ends, they all kind of just start mingling towards the pitch, and you're just like.
Athletes, I mean, that's going to go through the roof with local guys, Rams. There's obviously a good relationship. And let's up it to some of these other teams. Where you at Chargers? Where you at Lakers? We had Josh Hart there.
We did have Josh Hart there.
So maybe the biggest, I sat there and I was with my son and I looked around. I this is, you're in Hollywood. You recognize, Avengers Endgame is coming out. Probably going to be the highest grossing movie ever.
Yes.
Is that safe to say?
Yeah, that's a pretty good.
It probably will. And directed by two brothers, the Russo brothers. Joe Russo was there, and I saw him. I told my son, I goes, that's the director of Avengers Endgame. So I go, do you want to meet him? He goes, yeah. Do you want to take a photo? And he goes, no, I want an autograph. I go, all right.
Yeah.
So we walk up. Joe Russo goes, oh, yeah, would you like a photo? And he goes, no, I want an autograph. I go, I'm sorry, he's kind of old-fashioned that way. And he had an old sticker. It was all bent. He got the autograph.
Oh.
So
I was hoping he would have like a notepad with a pencil, like an old, like really old school.
Yeah, I know. No, he's not that
autographs
old.
with pencil back in the day.
Not that old of a soul.
We'll get him one.
And then he goes, Joe Russo goes, who's your favorite Avenger? And my son goes, Spider-Man. I'm like, is that a good answer?
I still think that's fair. Spider-Man's, I'm going to go into my like geeky comic, and I'm not.
I'm glad he didn't say some of the second run, like the Iron Man 2, played by Don Cheadle. I'm not sure.
War Machine.
Is that War Machine?
Yeah.
Is that a real legit one?
Yes and no. See, the comic book world is so crazy with the crossovers. And
it's just so many figures on that poster. I'm like, whoa, there's like 40 Avengers.
Look, I had comic books.
I'm going to put myself on that poster.
I had the comic books. I had the cards, like the baseball cards, but for comic book heroes, like as if I'm a child flipping it over and like, that guy's strength is that guy's? No, he's stronger than this guy. Yeah. Like you can almost get in arguments over it. But I'm with you. I can't keep it straight. I think though Spider-Man, if my memory is correct, is one of those like.
Kind of fringe. He should be more Spider-Man. He's
you know what he is? Here's a good reference. No one's going to get this but you. He's Billy Preston. He's the fifth Beatle. He's the fifth Beatle.
The fifth Beatle.
So he's the fifth member, not the fifth member. I can't tell you how many exact members are in the Avengers, but he's the Billy Preston of the Avengers.
Yeah, good call.
He gets to just drop in.
He's like, sorry, Billy, we're not being. You can't be. It's the four mop tops.
Billy Preston.
And you're not from Liverpool.
Coined the great phrase, "You can't always get what you want." That's what you come here for.
Is he the sixth Rolling Stone?
Sure.
Okay.
He had a fantastic afro.
Yeah, he did.
One of the best.
Great entertainer. Billy Preston. I'm so glad we're getting to talk about him. But anyway, that meeting, the meeting Joe Russo has got us to thinking.
Oh yeah, back to Joe Russo.
Meeting Joe Russo. Who are the Avengers on LAFC? So we're gonna come up with that next.
Yes.
All right. So stick with us. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some fun over the next.
Join us because we're gonna have to talk through it. We have not picked these beforehand, so we're gonna really talk
off the cuff. Inside LAFC Avengers next. Back here at Inside LAFC, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to have the LAFC Avengers. One, just for some closure, when I saw Joe Russo, he's been to every game, or close to every game, he said. So discussion became about football, and it's cool. And I think with everyone who's at LAFC games, who at least got it from the beginning, even if you get in now, you're here at the beginning. And it could be anything you want to be. It could be hardcore fandom. Every part, every fiber, every thought of your day, like many of our fans are, is around LAFC, which is a great way to live, by the way. Or it could be something in between where you come to every game, or sometimes you pop in every game and you just wear LAFC stuff in and around town, which I see a lot too. So make it whatever you want.
I'll say this though, even the people that we wouldn't consider like ultras or there's the hardcore. They seem to be there for every game, so they know.
Devastation when they're not.
Yeah, especially when you're at home, especially if you're a team that's 5-0 at home and perfect at home. You know that if you don't show up for that one match, it's going to be the one you're going to miss. Like this one, I know it was Easter Sunday for a lot of people. Difficult to get out there. I know a few people that were getting on Twitter as the game was going on and being like, "This was the game we had to miss."
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things. It's the can't miss thing, not just for the atmosphere, but the team right now. They're scoring goals, and so you don't want to think you're going to miss the one day where it's a 1-0 and then it turns out to be a 6-1, 5-0.
That's going to happen. And I probably should have said this the last segment, but the comfort level LAFC is at home now where they're built to play well on that field. We saw the disappointment in Vancouver on turf at a field that didn't really give. This is not the case here. When LAFC and Bob Bradley are building his team to execute at home, and you saw it there, I've never seen them look more comfortable, where they use every inch of that field to get what they wanted, and that's going to make it a very tough place for opponents from this day forward. We saw some close calls earlier this season, but now you're seeing some distance put in between LAFC and their opponents, so it is a fortress.
Yeah, it's going to be scary in the regular season, and if they keep going this well, we'll have home playoff games. Right. So you're right. It took them some time to kind of get a handle on it last season. They had a good record, but I wouldn't say a stellar record.
Yeah, some ties when they could have had some wins. But that said, I think opponents are going to come in here and say, this will make a season. You win there. This is like Levante winning at the Camp Nou. I'm going to do what Bob Bradley does. I'll do like a comparison from my perspective.
I like it.
What do you think about that? Back in the old Sir Alex days, Sheffield Wednesday coming in and getting some points at Old Trafford.
Yeah. Hey, Sheffield. Oh no, I believe it's Sheffield United that's close to coming up.
Sheffield United is close to coming up. It's Norwich, the Canaries, Sheffield United, and Leeds and Aston Villa hovering.
Leeds is fading though.
I know.
You come to us for your championship coverage. I'll tell you though, Leeds is
I
fading
just took a peek at that.
because Bielsa puts them through hell. And go figure, in a 48-game season, you start to drop off after you've been just killed by your coach for a whole season. Again,
that'd be a huge story after all that.
Yep. Yeah, if they
Bielsa's there to be a Premier League coach, but
they drop out of it. Yeah, if they have to go through the playoffs and they don't make it through, that's going to be a big thing. Again, we are the championship show of record. We do it all.
No, the English League, and I always give the English League grief, but man, they're having a spectacular year. 4 quarterfinalists in the Champions Leagues, 2 semifinals in the Champions League, 2 semifinals in the Europa League. Activity in the Championship, which is international news, where it's going to draw your attention. Man, the league's just doing it right. It's
a legit title race.
Great managers in there, a legit title race, a legit run for the top 4 with 6 teams that are all Champions League worthy. Atalanta might be the Champions League team for Italy, just in comparison. Nothing against Serie A, but Atalanta's not in the top 6 in England.
At least
maybe
they're fun.
8th. They are fun. Oof, we haven't seen them. Duvan Zapata.
Yes.
It's the real deal. Okay, let's get into the Avengers. The Avengers of LAFC. And we're gonna
if there's any artists out there, why don't you get some artwork going on this? This would be a good.
There's a lot of great artists. Jonas Never came out. He did the muralist in LA. Jeff Correa is another. There's some good artists in and around LAFC. So
let's.
I'm not one of them.
Let's start with the proverbial elephant in the room for the Avengers. Let's start with the Hulk.
The Hulk.
This is the only
All
one
right.
that we actually talked for just a short
It's the
second
only
on.
one
And,
we're talking
and
about.
Max,
And I liked your answer.
Max gave a great answer, so I was like, just
Our answers were both very similar. So, the Hulk is a man, not very imposing. That when you get Bruce Banner, right?
Yes.
When you get him angry, he turns into the Hulk. So, in some comparison, that's the direction I was going. A very mild-mannered player who, when he gets on the field, turns into a monster in the good way. And I said Diego Rossi because he's sliding very mild-mannered. And then I go, I can see that. But you came up with a better one.
I thought Latif Blessing would be the
Yes.
one. Because
He does
literally,
that transformation, no?
he transforms once he gets on the pitch, and then he's everywhere. And Latif leads the league in tackles. I mean,
Maybe he's
that's a strength type stat.
maybe
for
he's
most.
Thor as well.
Maybe. I mean, Latif is just a superhero, period, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's the star man. He does whatever. But I just think Latif, you somehow transforms the second he walks on that pitch, and he's everywhere. He's physical. He's tough to get off the ball. I mean,
He's the star man.
You would think he is a 6 foot, something, wide-bodied dude, but he goes out there, gets under your skin. I mean, I don't know. I like Latif as the Hulk.
Done it. Sold. Latif Hulk. All right, what's next?
Should we go with Iron Man?
Yeah, this one's a little tricky because there's Iron Man strikes you by and large as a leader amongst their very cerebral. And again, a regular man who's created this technology to make himself a superhero. I guess that describes a lot of these guys.
Yeah. A little bit of a chip on his shoulder.
The one I kept popping up is Bob.
Bob is Iron Man.
He kind of goes there, and then he's built this technological team to. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of so Iron Man is kind of the leader of the Avengers. Okay.
Is that?
The
Other answer is Carlos Vela, but I think there's
is-
that super talent to him that makes him a different superhero.
I think Carlos Vela fits the Iron Man mold in the way that Robert Downey Jr. does, where he's kind of the playboy, the good-looking dude.
Oh, that's good.
So maybe that's good. I would say this though. I would say maybe. Okay, so I'm gonna try shoehorn this in. I don't know if it works. Mark Anthony Kaye, kind of a chip on his shoulder, kind of has taken his.
Too young.
Too young. Okay, I was
This
gonna
is
say
a debonair.
a man that's kind of taken the best of himself and made it something better with his suit. I don't
think we have a good Iron Man.
Yeah, I don't think we have a good Iron Man. Okay, we'll move on from Iron Man. Let's do Ant-Man because I think I already stole Latif for the Hulk, but Latif also just as easily fits into Ant-Man because he's listed as 5'7". I'm 5'7". I'm taller than Latif. But once he gets on the pitch, he's
someone who
I
fits
could
into
not.
small space as well.
Yes.
Gets in there. Doesn't have to be small in stature, although that helps you are Ant-Man. Do we double up on Latif?
Yeah, I said Latif could be any of these. He's just a superhero.
Someone, a bit of an outlier.
Somebody that can do things in small ways and big ways.
Let's go to the next one.
Eddie Segura?
All right, I like that. That's a good holder.
Yeah, good holder for that one. Okay.
I'll take
Okay, how about this one? Captain America.
Captain America.
Christian Ramirez.
Yeah, he has that.
Or Walker. I don't know. Just when you say Captain America, those are the two first ones that jumped in my head. Obviously, playing for the national team.
Yes.
They're guys that.
Chiseled chin.
Yeah.
Statuesque.
Very.
I like. Let's go.
Wholesome.
Yes.
Like the Walker and Christian are both known for being just kind of. They're straight ahead players. They're not simulating. We're not seeing a lot of red cards. We're not seeing them argue too much. They kind of get on with it.
I like Christian as Captain America. I like that. And maybe Zimmerman we could use as possibly Thor.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I know I'm going for the low-hanging fruit here.
I think he would like
the blonde locks.
Yeah.
But he packs a punch, swings that big hammer, figuratively, to clean things in the defense has been a huge thing. So I think we did 1-2 really nice.
The God of Thunder.
That's the new nickname for Walker Zimmerman. God of Thunder.
I'm
tabulating all these.
The last one I have written down is Hawkeye, and I singled out in my mind Carlos Vela for Hawkeye, the guy that can't miss. But maybe
now that we don't have, I think maybe Vela fits as Iron Man a bit.
Okay.
So Carlos Vela is Iron Man. Hawkeye is just precision. We're going to have Rossi in there. Maybe he...
Yeah,
Could we make him Ant-Man?
Diego's a good precision. Diego could be Ant-Man. Okay, Diego Ant-Man.
Diego, whatever. Sorry, Eddie.
Sorry, Eddie.
And then Hawkeye.
Hawkeye, someone that's precision.
Precise. Maybe Eddie Segura there.
Yeah, those precise tackles just snipes everyone all around the field. I like that.
All
okay,
right,
Eddie.
we have your Avengers. We don't want to go too far because, as I said, I saw the movie poster. There was like 70 Avengers up there. So we went with the main food groups here. And here are our findings. The Hulk, Latif Blessing. Iron Man, Carlos Vela. Ant-Man, Diego Rossi. Captain America, Christian Ramirez. Thor, Walker Zimmerman, Hawkeye, Eddie Segura. Apologize to all the LAFC players that didn't make it, and we're going to get grief from them, I'm sure. But thank you for the inspiration to Joe Russo.
We apologize to you now, but know this. There are 100 Avengers or so in this whole galaxy. We'll find something for you.
We will find something. We will. We can go to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Technically, our Avengers, correct?
Yeah. Can I be the raccoon?
No, you're much...
I find my... a little,
Yeah, you know what? That does fit.
A little, yeah.
That does fit a little bit.
Jack of all trades. You can find me maybe in a dumpster every once in a while. I'm just saying.
The dumpster part puts it over the top, so you're in. Okay, you can do this too. We're here. We want to share this. Let us know. Leave a comment. Let us know who you think is a good match as an Avenger who plays for LAFC. Do that in the comment section. We'll share it on our next Inside LAFC. When we return, something else we want you to get involved with is who is the second best player in LAFC. We have established Carlos Vela. Who is the second most important player? However you want to look at it. We have some ideas. We want to share it with you. Inside LAFC will continue. All right, Inside LAFC, we are back. Carlos Vela, 10 goals, now has company for tops and assists with 5. Did he pick? No, he had 5 assists still.
Yes.
So there you go. Carlos Vela was brought in to be the number 1 for LAFC, and he has done just that. Obviously, he gets a lot of help from a lot of players. Nobody is a spectator or a non-active participant. Whoever, if you want to be playing for LAFC, you have to earn it. Bob even said that, talking about the Vancouver game and some of the young players. He goes, "You earn this spot, but look, when you get in there, you gotta produce." So this is a very competitive balance and team to get on there. So with Carlos Vela at number 1, we're going to take a look at who we think is the second most important player, because there's a wide spectrum of answers to this. I don't think there is a right one, and we want to hear from you. But Vince, I'd love to hear from you. There's so many ways to go here, because LAFC's attack and defense are equally as excellent in the early part of the season. Disappointing to give up the goal against Seattle. Probably could have had it close to a clean sheet. Just gave up the goal to the Whitecaps. Really was only that didn't have a chance after that goal in Vancouver. Defensively, they're very good. So I don't know. This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, goals change games. Goals win games. And obviously, LAFC is on a historic pace with goals. But let's not forget that our numbers in defense are elite level for the league as well. Underlying numbers too. The advanced stats show that this team is very good defensively. They don't give up many chances. But man, that offense is so good. I think you're right. There's really no.
Early on, the easy answer was Rossi when it was like these were the 2 guys. And Rossi's been great. Hasn't scored as many goals, but maybe there's. To me, the midfield certainly against Seattle told me that this is. We know that about LAFC. It's going to be key, and we got some data where we saw the heat maps and likes where you see what this midfield does, and it is bright red. Yeah. It is hot. Hot with what they're able to do and do effectively. And that includes Marc-Anthony Kaye, it's Eduardo Atuesta, Latif Blessing, who has really locked it in, Lee Nguyen, who's returned and will probably play a big role in that midfield as well. And I think maybe at some point last season, I would have said is probably the second most important player for LAFC. I think you could have said that. Right now, because he hasn't had as many games, you can't. So obviously Lee is not going to be the answer.
This is only in this, mind you, this is only in this moment.
Yes.
In this good vein of form. The ones I keep going back and forth in my head is Marc-Anthony Kaye, Eddie Segura.
Okay.
And I have very good arguments for both of them. I think I'm going to lean.
Eddie Segura, by the way, the only field player to play every minute because Eduardo Atuesta came out in the 88th minute. So that's it. So he has been the marathon man. Is that an Avenger, marathon man?
No, I don't think so. But it should be.
Eddie, we'll get you in there again.
Yeah. I can make arguments for both of them. I think I'm leaning a little more towards Mark. Just maybe there's some recency bias. I mean, the 3 assists, all of them just so nice too, so precise. Yeah. But Eddie
he does a lot. He does so many things, and I think we saw there too. I mean, he's always in on the opponents. There was a moment with Ladetto where he was getting in there, and he does that once, maybe every other game, and I like it. I think it fires it up, and it's kind of he plays this great support midfielder, and he's a go forward, almost a number 10 sometimes, as we saw on the play to Carlos Vela. And then he has that enforcer skills. I mean, he does a lot. That's a good answer. And one thing about Mark Anthony, there are clubs in Europe that are going, I'm not saying they do it, but they have to have taken notice. Go, this guy is exactly what we're looking for because he's this great all-round midfielder, and his improvement coming off injury.
We keep pushing his ceiling higher and higher.
Yeah.
Every time you think, Mark's a very good player, I'm okay with this. He pushes it one level higher.
Like he's a great player.
And like you said, he's sometimes playing as a number 10. I think that was the one part of his game where he probably really wanted to work on is in and around the area. He isn't always as sharp because, touches become that more important. Time and space on the ball is that much shorter. But that first assist, I mean, Nico Ladero was probably looking at that wondering, ooh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then I think the even better one, or maybe not better, but just for what he wants to become is the 1-2 with Christian Ramirez. If he's able to think that quickly on his feet, in the box, in a congested area, slip that pass, read the play before it even happens. I mean, Carlos Vela was right in front of him. Most players would say, give it to Carlos, we'll let him do what he does. No, he continues the play. I'm going to lean towards Mark, but I strong case for Eddie Segura. I think the only reason why he doesn't get it is just because the whole team did such a number on Seattle that he didn't have to do as much. Yeah. But he's always there. If there's any emergency moment, it's either him there or him backing up Walker or Walker backing up him. I think maybe that's what it is too. So part of it is Walker and Eddie, to me, are a group thing, and so they're together. So maybe they're 3.
They're good.
They're 3A.
They're partners.
Yeah, 3A and 3B. But I know that you have a midfield selection. So tell me.
Mark Anthony K is a really good answer, and Bob said also about he still had some bad passes. Whoa, but he's cultivating. This is a guy so coachable as well, and you see he's taking the coaching and going with it. And they were saying that he's going to play every game for Canada in the Gold Cup. He's going to be a big player, maybe be great at LAFC and help resuscitate the sport in Canada. I mean, that's a big job, but I think he looks like a guy who's very comfortable in taking that on. Eduardo Atuesta, I know, called the number 6. Old-fashioned Argentine background, called the number 5.
Number 5.
But
which is why the numbers are silly.
The numbers are silly, so we still do it. Number 9 is pretty legit. Number 1.
They're shorthand. They're good shorthand, but at the end of the day.
Number 10 is probably the most famous.
Yeah. Like Bob says, at the end of the day, you can have a number 6 that can do it 10 different ways.
Yes. So Bob Bradley's son, Michael Bradley, one of the greatest players we ever produced, a great number 6, which does so much from a deep line position, but can move up, always there in support, always available for a pass if something breaks down. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm here, which requires a lot of movement and I really watched Eduardo Atuesta in this game, and it was just remnant. His head is on a swivel. His head's looking everywhere to
always
see where. That's what the job needs. Sometimes when this position, I think when I describe it to people, they go, oh, I could do that. It doesn't require the beating players, and it all helps. But this is a pretty straightforward position, it would seem, what you do. Just be where they have to be. If you get a touch, pass it off to someone else, usually short passes, not passes sideways. It's not. Because if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And Eduardo Atuesta has mastered that, where you see it with the movement, he is involved in everything. And I think that makes him so valuable. He is getting forward. He's now scoring goals. He does find his way up there. He's always so disciplined to get back as well. Just like Mark Anthony K, a guy who has grown into the position, but he looks at like one of the best. I look at that position in Major League Soccer, and there's, Ilya Sanchez, obviously Michael Bradley, and there's guys there, and those teams that have a good player in that position go a long way, and now LAFC have one who's going to be your everyday guy. So we did get some numbers. In the game against Seattle, he had 168 touches, which I think led the team. But we were quickly told that he gets a lot more than that on a regular basis. We went to the Vancouver game.
Depends on the game state.
At 240. So, I mean, just think about the numbers in the minutes. If you're hovering around 200 touches, which I think is probably a safe number to say, maybe a little bit more than that, some touches are good, some are not. But by and large, with what LAFC does in that midfield, I imagine most are effective, and they're connecting into a guy who's going to connect that guy to eventually scoring a goal.
I would say 200 maybe is higher than you might want for Edouard. So the reason why Seattle's touches were maybe lower is because then Latif and Mark they were top 3. So they were so important because they were passing amongst each other. And I think you made a good point, that the touches and how some people look at it and go, I think I could do that. No, man. There's so many high leverage moments. You have to be so clean on the ball. The sideways passes.
You can't waste a touch.
Look, you might say a lot of guys would say, oh, he's just a lot of sideways passes. I could make those passes, but those are just passes to get to other passes. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to, when the window opens, which is what we love from last week's show. We love when the window opens. You have to be able to make that pass, which Mark did in that moment. Mark makes a pass to Edouard to bring Edouard to get his goal. But I think Edouard just affects the game in so many, again, I'll say it again, leverage moments. He affects the game on the ball. It's good to see him get a goal. I'm sorry, I was just thinking about Roman Torres sliding.
I love Roman Torres. Great career.
Yeah.
Had an achievement that has not been matched in Panamanian sport, helping get that country into a World Cup. But
I mean,
I don't know if he's helping.
Was it?
There was obviously injury concerns there, but
you know what it made me think of when James Harden,
lovely man too.
When James Harden crosses over a guy, shakes him off, and then stands at the 3-point line just to look at him for a second.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, now I'm gonna make this. Edouard didn't go that far, but he kind of checked and he was like, what's that guy doing? Okay, I want to just shoot this.
Wow.
But he affects the ball, and even if he doesn't tackle, he slows down play, allows teammates to get back. He has such a role and such a pivotal role that he knows he has to be in certain places. He can't just drift in and out of matches, because when he does, at least he's just going to get torn apart.
Yeah.
He's a linchpin.
Yeah, but last season I thought he was good, but I was like, is he an essential part of what LAFC is doing? No, absolutely essential now with what he's been able to create from that area. And again, a guy that LAFC went out and really discovered. It's been remarkable. So,
well, he's the big arm man last year was the number 6, right? Let's go back to that for a second. Everyone, you don't have number 6. You don't have number 6. No. We have a number 6. This is the type of number 6 we have. What drives me crazy is the people that say, Diego Char, just the best number 6 in the league.
Yeah.
Okay, you like a guy that can tackle, but what else does he do?
He's not scoring goals.
He doesn't really have assists. He's not very clean on the ball, per se. I mean, Edouard does all those things at a high level. And so that's, like you said, I think he was figuring out the system, really figuring out where he fit in. Now he feels like, I've got this.
I've got it. I mean, sometimes with the touches, this is what I want to say. It's kind of like when I look at when you look at these boxing matches and the guys hit jabs. You see the punch numbers. You see jabs. They're not power punches, but they're jabs. But you see the guys that hit jabs a lot usually win. Mm-hmm. It tears down a defense. The touch. You're looking for an opening. You're looking for some daylight. And eventually it's not. And then eventually you see it. And then you do the power punch. And I think Atuesta is good at that jab and bringing in the power punch.
Well, when LFC controls games the way they do, and they're able to pass between whatever the 3 midfielders are, in this case it was Latif, Mark, and Edouard. And there was a lot of sequences where they held the ball, were able to move the team up the pitch by playing with each other. And I think that's what it is. You touch, haymaker.
Yeah, unbelievable. So there you go. Who is your vote? Walker Zimmerman would be a great choice. Diego Rossi would be a great choice.
Yeah, we still left a lot of names on the table that you could choose from. You could argue against any of ours for those guys as well.
Could we say Latif?
Latif, yeah.
Latif Blessing. I don't want to diminish the fullbacks, but Jordan Harvey and Beta Short's numbers are up there too. I don't think they would put themselves there.
Yeah, I mean they would probably say not quite, but I mean
it's open for discussion.
It's open for discussion. I mean the tougher part would have been then now pick number 3.
Yeah. I don't want to get on that.
Yeah.
We're here all day. So, hey, drop us a note wherever you listen to Inside LFC. Let us know who you think your second is. Give us a little description. We'll talk about it next week.
Yes.
We'll open it up. Great reaction. I love being at the stadium. I know you do. We wander around, and people are very welcoming. A couple folks did mention the podcast and enjoy it. Went down to the tailgate.
Great.
Got food, some beverages, which I had to turn down. I did have some cold water. I had a sip of a beer because I was told it was great. And it was the Defenders of the Bank, their own home brew. They had what were they doing up there? I had some pins I wanted to wear too. I forgot, but I'll
Next
do that
time.
next time. But they had a home brew that they made. It was excellent. A little sip was nice and cold.
Yes.
And
I mean,
Easter egg hunt was down there. It was very wonderful. And they, everyone. Let me say something else. Everyone cleans up their space real quick.
yes.
And then it looks like when it started. Respect to the facilities.
Well, it's like you go there, we've said this before, it seems almost so professional, but it's just these people coming together, putting up their easy ups, and then they lay out their grills, and the food is amazing. It's like being at like a world fair, but it's just one team just coming together, and everyone has you can just go around the whole Christmas tree lane, just sampling little bits. Everyone's friendly. I would highly recommend the next home match, May 4th. There will be tailgates because it's a nighttime match, so they'll be out there probably sometime around noon.
Yeah.
Get out there at some point. Go around, meet everybody, mingle. I'm sure we'll be out there.
May not be as much. That's one of our YouTube TV games.
Oh yeah, Max.
Very excited. Home game for
nines.
us. May 4th, Chicago Fire. Cinco de Mayo weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of stuff going around all over town.
I will eat Max's portion on May 4th.
Give it to him. Feed him.
Yeah, only the food. I have to stay away from the colorful drinks as well.
Yeah. And by the way, the LAFC Lucky song, "No Luckies, No Party," is a masterpiece. And it got stuck in my craw, and I was seeing it a day later.
And now it's stuck in my head.
All right, I think we did some good work. Look forward to speaking to you all, seeing you all out there, and hearing from you here on the podcast. Subscribe to Inside LAFC. Tell a friend. That's Vince. I'm Max. We'll see you next week. Very good.
It was very Ron Burgundy-esque.
Hello.